Rob Rooney is a senior British banker and financial executive, best known for his long career at Morgan Stanley, where he served as the bank's chief executive officer for EMEA, that's Europe, Middle East and Africa, and head of technology operations and firm resilience. He joined Morgan Stanley in the late 1990s and became one of the most influential London-based figures. And during his tenure, he oversaw the bank's Brexit contingency planning, which meant moving hundreds of bankers and billions in assets from London to Frankfurt and other European cities to maintain access to EU clients after the UK left the single market. Since leaving Morgan Stanley, Rooney has become chief executive of Hyperlayer, a British financial technology company that builds consumer finance and rewards platforms for large banks. He's also a vocal commentator on the City of London's future productivity and the broader consequences of Brexit for Britain's financial services industry. He represents that rare category of banker who has seen Brexit from both sides, as the man who had to manage its operational fallout inside a major Wall Street bank, and now as a British tech CEO trying to keep London competitive outside the EU. So Rob Rooney has watched desks, servers and people peel away from London to Frankfurt, friends decamp to Paris, Madrid, Milan and Dublin, and you can see the shine on Canary Wharf's towers, yet a quiet truth sits beneath the glass. The growth that once came to London by default now lands on the continent. London is still a giant, but the tide no longer runs only our way. Why does this matter? Because productivity is the country's pay rise, its wages, tax receipts, public services, and for years we told ourselves that once Brexit dust settled, the machine would purr again. It has not. Brexit has failed. Goods exporters have had a rougher time than our G7 peers. Services look better on the surface, but some of that success is simply business rebadged inside the EU so it can be sold to EU clients. The same people, new letterhead. That keeps trade moving, but it trims London's edge and cuts the agglomeration magic that made the city special. Brexit didn't break the city, but it's blunted it. We swapped one big doorway into Europe for a maze of smaller gates. Banks duplicated compliance teams, lawyers learned parallel rule books, booking centres multiplied. None of this is fatal. All of it is friction, and friction is a tax on time. Productivity is now the Chancellor's central headache. Trim the trend by a fraction, and the borrowing line swells by billions. You cannot plug that gap by speeches. You either raise taxes, cut spending, or get the economy to work smarter. In truth, you probably do all three. So let's keep our balance. Not every lost job is down to Brexit. COVID smashed supply chains. Energy shocks hit energy-heavy industries. Some wounds are homemade. Slow planning, clogged courts, creaking transport, an education system still arguing with itself while vacancies sit open. The endless churn of the Home Office. But Brexit is the backdrop. It raised the cost of being Europe's default financial hub and handed more of the marginal growth to rival cities. So what does a serious response look like inside today's political lines? First, we need to make a virtue of being boring. Mutual recognition for auditors, lawyers and quants. Clarity on data adequacy. A durable fix on clearing. Fast, tidy deals that shave minutes and pounds from cross-border business. No bunting, no fanfare, just less sand in the gears. If you ever tried to pay money into Europe or beyond at the moment, you know just simply from your own experience that it doesn't work. Second, we need to win on speed. If we cannot offer passporting, we need to offer speed. Publish service standards with regulators and planning. If a firm can get a clean answer in Paris in 8 weeks, it should get one here in 6. Certainty is a currency. Third, we need to win on talent. The test is simple. A bright 27-year-old in Shoreditch shouldn't feel like they must move to Barcelona to grow. That means an immigration system that welcomes we need an immigration system that welcomes skills, a graduate visa that's not a moving target, and a short-stay business travel system of rules that actually match how people work. Fourth, we need to spread the spillovers. London's density still matters, but the national dividend appears when finance, law and Data science take root near Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham, Edinburgh and Belfast. That means trains that run, labs and mid-rise offices that get built, and universities tied into local firms by real projects, not glossy brochures. Fifth, we need to treat AI like roads and pipes. Stop sermonizing. Procure it. Put it to work in places where time saved is measurable. Hospitals, courts, tax, border checks. The best policy answer, the best industrial policy is the state buying things that actually make itself faster. And let's address a fashionable rejoinder. What about the savings from not paying into the EU budget and keeping all our tariff revenues? Yes, some cash stays here, but the core issue is not a single cheque to Brussels. It's the growth plan we locked in. A slightly bigger pie every year beats a one-off saving. If the long-run effect is a smaller pie, you'll feel it in wages, profits, public services for a decade. There's also the city's old temptation. Before 2008, finance looked like a magic money tree. It was not. If the plan to revive productivity is just to pump up risk, we will repeat the crash with worse public finances. The city must be stronger and saner at the same time. More competition, more listings, more scale for pensions so they can back British firms at every stage, and less box ticking that adds no safety. Politics complicates this. Labour wants to say the quiet part out loud. Brexit hurt. It also promises not to reopen the single market or customs union. That's a tightrope. But it is walkable if the work is done in the middle distance where headlines do not reach. The Leeds reforms, listings changes, solvency tweaks, a sharper UK-EU regulatory dialogue, serious planning reform, clean energy built at pace, and skills visas that are predictable for longer than one news cycle. None of this is thrilling. All of it moves the dial. So here is the honest summary. London is still a world city, thank God. The lights are still on, thank God. The deal flow hums. The growth we used to catch without trying is now split. Fragmentation has a cost. It shows up as lower productivity and thinner tax receipts. The budget will sit on that reality whether ministers mention Brexit or not. The fixes exist, they are practical, unglamorous and entirely within our reach. Rooney's friends in Barcelona and Milan are not proof that London is finished, they are proof that Europe has caught up where it needed to. Our task is to make London irresistible again on speed, certainty and talent, not by nostalgia, not by shouting at Brussels, by doing the work only we can do here. So, to take a final image, take the city as an engine that has always run hot. Brexit adds a few extra belts and pulleys. The engine still turns, but there is a drag. The cure is not to curse the belts. It's to reduce the drag, tune the timing, feed the machine with the fuel it needs most, people, permission and purpose. Do that and the numbers will follow. Ignore it and we keep explaining away another thin year with people whining about immigration and about tax. We need to fix the mess that we created for ourselves with Brexit. It is fixable, and we could indeed even be better off afterwards. But the last 6 years have proven that we are ruled by twits. We need to change that.